when he was getting that kidney, he was going to think he was funnier, he was sassier, he was cockier, he was always going to be right. And she goes, so now when he acts like that, he says it's all my fault.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love that. Welcome to another episode of the Ripple Effect Podcast. I am your host, Steve Harper, and I could not be more excited to introduce you to my next guest, Pam Rankel. Pam and I connected through Substack. As many of you know, my blog is over there, and I have started following a good number of people that are prolific writers, much better than I am. And I comment. I like to show support. And Pam and I somehow got on the same thread on a particular post, and then we started connecting offline in learning about one another. And to say that Pam's story is complicated and it's like a Lifetime movie and a major motion picture all rolled up into one would be an understatement. And so I'm not even going to try to encapsulate, an introduction about what she is all about because I don't think I'd do it justice. This woman is amazing. And I'm so grateful that she agreed to be a part of the Ripple Effect podcast. So, with no further ado, let's dive into this interview with Pam and really get to know the adventure of Pam Rankel. I'm super excited to visit with you today. Thanks for making the time.
Well, first and foremost, I just want to thank you very much for inviting me. I love what you stand for. The
Oh,
ripple effect, that's one of my lines that I've used for years. Like the ripple effect, you don't know that one kind thing that you do and how it affects everybody. And there's that ripple effect. So you made a comment on my Substack, and that's
yep.
what got the ball rolling. And I thought, oh, okay, we speak the same language.
Yes. I said in your intro that I recorded before you joined that it's just really interesting how life unfolds and how you meet people in very unexpected ways. And I have met so many great people off Substack, and they've evolved into really meaningful friendships and deep conversation. And so, I knew immediately when you and I started corresponding that this was a conversation that we had to have. And so I'm so grateful that you agreed to do it.
Thank you. I'm still trying to maneuver my way through Substack. I'm not
Yep.
quite sure how it all works. I'm so techie challenged. But anyways, I'm glad to be part of the community, and I do a lot of reading of what other
Yep.
people post. Mhm.
What has been, well, I guess, let me ask you this question is we're just going to roll into this. This is good. This is great. What led you down the Substack path initially?
Actually, it was a woman by the name of Pamela Anderson, who I'm sure you know who she is.
Yep.
And
Yep.
she was writing like a blog every Monday, and I was part of that. And then she joined Substack, and in order to read the rest of her blog, you had to join Substack.
Yep.
So I have this kind of kinship with her because she's a Vancouver Island girl.
Yep. Yep.
She knows my story. She lived not very far away from me. She's revamped her life, and she's just a little sweetheart.
She is. Yeah.
She's a BC girl through and through.
No kid. So she's living back up there now, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
she's there, Lady Smith, and her mom and dad take care of the property when she's not there. But it was her grandfather's property, and she's done a bunch of renos, and she's happiest when she's there.
That's great.
I don't talk to her personally, but I have friends that know her personally, and yeah, she's just an Islander girl. Yeah.
Yep. Down to earth, always sweet and
Hmm.
very approachable from what I've understood.
Hmm. Yeah.
Which I understand that's kind of a thing for UBCers, right?
We're nice people.
I love that. I
I
I
think
have
we
a good friend that's a coach in Canada, and she has worked with clients in British Columbia, and she said that is just one of the most enjoyable experiences because even people that are in challenge or struggling, maybe their business isn't going as well as they'd like, they're just so darn kind. So I haven't
Well,
been up there, but I hope to come up someday. So
oh,
yeah,
well, you're always welcome to come to Kelowna.
yeah,
Did you know that it today is throughout the world is Kindness Day?
I did not know that.
So I thought that was interesting that we're doing our podcast on that day.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is really, really cool. That I thank you for pointing that out to me for sure.
Mhm.
Well, so let's start a little bit back. I was explaining in your intro that for me to try and do justice to what you have gone through, what you've overcome, where you're going with your life, and the approach that you've taken in order to take control and really you've gone through a lot of adversity and a lot of challenges and we can dive into any of the topics that make the most sense to you, but I guess the question I'd like to start with is where do you find your resilience? Because you are someone that I think, I mean, now when I think of that word, it's your face is going to pop up all the time because you are someone that has really, really stands out as someone that understands what that means and has embraced it.
Yes. Well, I think that we all have that in us. And fortunately, some people don't have to tap into it as much as other people.
Yeah.
My journey, I did have to dig deep for it. And I think, quite honestly, Stephen, when I got really, really sick after losing my second son and then my grandson, um, I realized that I had to make my way through it because
Yeah.
if I didn't, I would die.
Yeah.
And I believe it's our God given right to be radiant, every single one of us creatures on earth.
Yeah.
And I wanted to find my way back to joy, to compassion, to love, to humor, all those things that, you know, we should have in our day every day. And I also, a big part was I was still a mom. I wanted to make my kids proud. And even though they weren't in a physical form here, they were in my heart and always speaking to me and saying, "Come on, mom, you can do better."
Yeah.
So I always had a cheering section. And when and I also had an amazing, amazing community of friends that were constantly slapping their wings on the back of mine because mine were so broken.
Yeah.
And I love them. I get choked up talking about it because I don't know if I would have made it without all of those people. I didn't have much support from my immediate family. Unfortunately, they were dealing with some of their own issues, but that's not here nor there. I did, yeah. So yeah, I just wanted to reach for joy again, and I wanted to be able to get to a place where somehow I could be of service through all of this pain,
Yeah.
that I could help others to see that no matter how tragic or the stones that are thrown at you, you can still dig your way out and reach for joy and gratitude.
I love that. Is that something that through the experiences that you've had is that sort of the flame that you think has always been at your core, or was it something that you had to discover in yourself, or thanks to these friends that were there to support you and pick you up when you most needed it, that you learned by extension? I mean, I'm curious where that comes from for you, because just and we can certainly provide a more detailed bio for our audience, but I think when people see all of the twists and turns your life has taken, for you to say, "Hey, I want to continue to reach for joy," I get chills just hearing you say it, because not a lot of people would do that. And am I so admire you for that. But do you think that was always inside of you, or did someone have to help you cultivate that?
I think that has always been inside of me. I was born was my birthday 2 days ago. I was actually born on Remembrance Day, which is
Happy
interesting.
birthday. Yeah.
Thank you. 29 again.
Yes. All
Um,
right. Fantastic.
I, it's funny that I was born on a day of a lot of loss. I thought
Yeah.
that was kind of, interesting. But I know I was always a very kind, sweet, loving child. I was very shy. Yeah, I think that beauty was in me, and I think it's in all of us. But I felt that very strongly, and my dad, he was passed away way too young. But I remember him saying to me, "Honey, treat people how you want to be treated, and you will do fine in life."
Yeah.
Well, we
Yeah.
all want to be treated with kindness and respect and love. And so that always sat with me. And when I was going through my terriblest times, I realized that the one person who needed that the most was me. And
Yeah.
I wasn't giving it to myself. And I could feel my dad, saying, "Come on, honey, you know what you need to do. It's in there, it's in you."
Yeah.
And my light had gone out, and I needed to find a way to turn the switch back on. So I think it was in me. I do believe it's in everybody, but I think that a lot of people don't realize they have that inside of them.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. I in the information that you shared with me, and we'll get into that a little bit, but one of the things that really resonated with me was the significance of a butterfly. Maybe you
Mhm,
could share a little bit about that. I will tell you just before you dive in that it's kind of important to me because my mom suffered with Alzheimer's for about 10 years, and my dad's commitment, after he retired, he built a butterfly garden to cultivate butterflies to come into the yard because she would be lost in wherever you go when you have that kind of challenge. But a butterfly would catch her eye and she would light up, and it became
mhm,
a beacon, right? And so every time I see a butterfly, it's kind of like her coming back, from heaven and kind of paying me a visit. So when I read that with the information that you sent me, I was like, oh, it just hit me. So, we're kindred spirits in a lot of ways, but maybe explain it in the
mhm.
significance for your life.
Well, the blue butterfly, and it's especially a blue butterfly. It was my youngest son, Michael, who brought that to me in a very, very real dream, if you want to call it. I believe he showed up in a spiritual form, and it was the first Christmas after he had passed away, and I was at his older brother's place, and we spent Christmas together. It was very quiet and very sad, but that night when I was sleeping on my son's couch, um, I had this dream and or this vision, and Michael said to me, "Mom, you need to find the blue butterfly, and you'll be okay." Um, and anyways, it just sat with me, and I went and drove home that day back to the island. And on my way, I stopped in Nanaimo to get a coffee at Starbucks, and there was a huge lineup. And so I went into the store, which was a big bookstore that was
Uh-huh.
there. And when I walked in the front door, there was this huge table. It was full of blue butterflies on the front of the book. And on the
Oh,
front of the book, it said, "Heaven is for real."
wow.
Yeah.
Talk about a sign, right?
And it
Oh,
was, it was written by Eben Alexander, his story is amazing. I won't get into it, but I believe he led me to that book so I could read it to find out where he was and where we all go, I feel, at the end. So, and the other thing is about the butterfly is, it's in this cocoon, and it's just not a very good looking
yeah.
insect or whatever, and how it morphs into this beautiful creature. And I feel like that's kind of what I went through. And then I came out as, you know, a butterfly.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. As a, well, I guess one question I'd have for you, have you ever reached out to that author to let him know about
Yes.
that story?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. We've actually spoken.
Oh,
Yes.
that's fantastic. Well, talk
Yes.
about a ripple for them, right?
I
But,
know.
for you as
Yes.
well. Tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about that.
Oh, he's an amazing man. He was a neurosurgeon that ended up getting really, really sick with a type of a meningitis
Oh,
and was in a coma for a week. They said he was going to die. Like he was so sick. And in that week, he actually had his near death experience. And when he came back, they can't believe he survived it. He came back. He lives a full life now. He should not have survived, but
wow.
he remembers everything that happened to him. And he came back. He's not a neurosurgeon anymore. He talks about this in his written books, and about the reason why we're all here. And it's in the name of love. And I
Yeah.
already knew that because I had a near death experience when I was in my 40s, and I touched in on that a little bit.
Yep.
So I was already quite experienced in reading about all of this sort of thing. And I sent him a letter just telling of my experience. I think it was an email, it wasn't a letter, an email. And he wrote me back thanking me
Oh.
so much for sharing my experience. And yeah, he wasn't surprised at all by my story.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Mhm.
I just think that those kinds of opportunities that a lot of times we don't think about taking action to let them know that their work made that kind of impact. And you may not have heard, their story if you hadn't engaged. And so I think
Yeah.
those things are so amazing and so powerful. I, I know you've mentioned in your material that you are deeply involved or have gone through the course of miracles, and I know that a lot of
Mhm.
what they talk about throughout that program in the writings is looking for signs and looking for these little hints of nuggets, that life does give to us, and how so many of us are distracted with so much else that we miss it, right? And when you can be intentional and focused, things like what you experienced as you walked into that bookstore, or taking that next step and recognizing how significant that was to your life, and revealing that to the author. I think those are the little miracles that we have the opportunity to not only be able to enjoy, but also to impart out there into the world. So how does that work inform what you do as a holistic coach now?
Well, myself personally, I notice all the little nuggets all day long, and they're constantly dropping.
Yep.
I'm watching, it's a certain song, or it's just somebody says something. Somebody will call me. I've been thinking about them, and all of a sudden the phone will ring. There's a lot of, but I think a lot of people are so busy
Yeah.
and are so and I understand a lot of people have very busy lives and are juggling a lot of balls. But that whole thing about stopping to smell the roses, I think that's why we're here.
Yeah.
And there's roses all the time. And with my holistic life coaching, I mean, I'm just always trying to help people dig their own wisdom inside of themselves. We all have that. I'm not telling them what to do. I'm trying to help them see the power they have inside of them, that they are able to say the word no. And there's a reason it's in the English language, and to say it without guilt.
Yes.
No point in saying it if you're gonna feel really shitty about it afterwards.
Yeah.
Oops, I
Yeah.
shouldn't
Oh,
have said.
yeah. Hey, we're
Okay, but yeah, it's just and I think it's so important to just help lead people to see the beauty in everyday life.
yeah.
That I think a lot of people have forgotten about it because of the chaos in the world, but it's still there.
Yeah.
It's still there.
Yeah, I have a good friend that she's been on the podcast as well, and done some things for the pond. Her name is Andrea Shearer, and she wrote a book. Oh my gosh, her book just escaped me, the title. I had it like right in my mind, but it'll come to me. But she wrote a book about different ways to embrace wonder. And she looks at these very similar, right? These are miracles and opportunities to really look at the beauty of what life is giving us. And we have a tendency to look always towards the negative, or we allow our time, energy, and focus to be distracted. And one of the things that she said she really enjoys doing is these wonder walks, right? She goes out into her neighborhood and she looks at things through a different angle or a different lens. And she captures some things in through her camera or through her phone. And but she looks for the wonder in everyday life. And
Mhm.
her point, and what made me think about that and what you said, was you have to be intentional about that. And so many of us don't have the guidance or even the fortitude or the forethought to think about doing those things, because we let life happen to us as opposed to experiencing life that is happening around and for us. So I love the
Absolutely.
fact that you do that for your coaching clients, because it is such a critical service.
I love how you said that, Stephen.
Ah,
And you know, people just need to shut off the news. People
yes.
just need to get out into nature.
Yep.
That was a very big part of my healing, was just being amongst the trees and the
Yep.
forests, and just put your phones down and stop listening to what is coming across the cable news or whatever, and go within, sit with yourself, and the voice will start speaking to you. Your soul will start speaking to you, but you need to quiet all the other stuff so you can hear that soft voice. And that's taught to us through the Course of Miracles. Like,
Yep.
there's only two things: there's fear and love, and fear is
Yep.
always chattering the loudest. And we
Yes.
saw that all with the election, even though I'm not from the United States. And
Sure.
I feel sorry for so many people that are so fearful, because they don't need to be.
Yeah. I think,
Yeah.
it is something that we it becomes almost too easy to fall into fear, as
Mhm.
opposed to the alternative,
Oh, yeah.
because everything in today's world seems to be so negative, right? Like you said, the media, social media, especially,
Yeah.
the the real strong sense for us to compare ourselves to other people. I was on a call just earlier today with someone who was really struggling with, I'm starting a business. They think they should be at a different level. And I said, well, where do you think your comparison of where you should be in terms of your level of achievement or what you've done this year in this new venture, where do you think that comes from? And they were like, well, I follow these people that are doing certain things in the same kind of industry, and I kind of benchmark off of what they're doing. And I said, what if you stopped looking at them and
Mhm.
started looking at what you've accomplished? You left a corporate job, you started down a completely new career path. There's always stress and frustration when you're an entrepreneur, because you know what you have to offer to the world and they don't know yet that they need it. But how
Mhm.
exciting is that for you to be at this point? But if you're always looking at comparison, right? They say that, comparison is the thief of joy. When you're always looking at trying to chase something else as opposed to really being in presence and focused on what you're doing today, do you think you're helping yourself or hurting yourself? And you could just see it. Like, they did not recognize at all that they were falling into this trap of comparing themselves to someone that's already been in this business or this industry for several years, right? So to do that, it's a fool's errand. And I think in a lot of respects for folks that you probably work with and people that I work with, a lot of times it comes down to those things. What are we allowing in, and how much
Mhm.
of the negativity is really winning, right? And
Mhm.
taking over, whether it's where we feel like we are in our careers, whether we feel like where we are with our relationships, or whether we're up to the challenge of taking on that next goal or objective in the fear of, well, I mean, what if it doesn't work? Or what if I lose all my money? Or what, all the bajillion things that could happen. It's just interesting that, there's just this emphasis, so much on the emphasis on the fear factor and in the negative downsides, that it almost holds people so far away from what their potential
Oh,
could
yeah.
be. That's so
Yeah.
frustrating.
Absolutely. I remember listening to one of your podcasts, and you were talking about don't wait till it's exactly perfect, or don't wait till you've got it all. Just get it out there, and then you'll get feedback on it. But just jump in the deep end, get it out there, get going. And I really enjoyed that podcast.
Oh,
But
thank you.
there's so much fear that people have with everything, and I think a lot of people don't realize that how many choices they really do have every
Yep,
day.
absolutely.
Mhm.
What attracted you to this work, and how does that bring joy to your life and tick your box?
Well, it brings a lot of joy to my life. I'm so grateful for it. I was aware of the Course in Miracles years ago when I started reading Melody Beattie, love her,
Oh,
Marianne
yeah.
Williamson, Wayne Dyer,
Yeah,
Alan Cohen, all of those people. They all spoke with so much kindness, and especially Melody Beattie. She'd gone through addiction, she'd gone through abuse, trauma, she'd lost her son in a bad skiing accident.
yeah,
And I could she just resonated within me. But I never looked to see what A Course in Miracles is about. But I followed these people, and I love the way
sure.
they live their life. And then after I finally started getting my feet back on the ground through all of my grief, I really started looking deeper into the Course in Miracles and following it. And then I took my holistic life coaching program through Alan Cohen. It was a 6 month program, and he's an amazing person and has wrote many books and is a world renowned life coach. So I had a really good mentor, and I just incorporated into my day every day. And it's just simple. It's just show up and be kind and be loving to the person standing next to you in the lineup, or, you know, stand for an extra 10 seconds and hold that door open for that person running across the parking lot, or ask somebody how they're doing for the day and really look in their eyes and mean it,
Yes.
and don't be in such a rush. Just take that time. I think it's really simple, but
I think it is as well. I feel like many of us have never been taught or cultured to do it, and I think that there is such a huge, huge benefit to doing it. Not only do you feel amazing in the moment, I call it a ripple. I say the people that are supposed to be in
yes,
your life show up at exactly the time that they're supposed to.
yeah.
But if your head is buried in your phone, or you're avoiding eye contact, or you just want to get that latte and move on, right, to the, with your day, you may miss, the greatest connection, the greatest opportunity possible. And I was reflecting back on someone that I was working with that's really had some challenges with a coworker, and I said, "Have you ever actually stopped to actually really take that person in and really, see them for who they are? You've just spent 10 minutes telling me all the things you don't like about them. What's
Mhm.
one thing that you could pick right now that you would like about them?" And they were
Mhm.
really taken aback because I don't think they'd ever looked at it through that lens. And I said,
Mhm.
find the one thing that really stands out in your mind about that person. And then when you see them tomorrow or on Monday, tell them how much you appreciate that about them. You don't have to make a
Mhm.
big deal about it. You don't have to sit there for an extended conversation, but just say, you know what? I was thinking about the things that I admire about our coworkers, and I was thinking about you specifically, and I just wanted to share this. No reason for to get into conversation or make it weird, but yeah, I just wanted you to know that. They called me after they did
Mhm.
it and said that this entire situation felt like it turned
Mhm.
around in an
I
instant,
believe
right?
that.
Those
Mhm.
things just give us the opportunity to really, to what we were talking about earlier, fully participate in life and be a part of something that is bigger than ourselves. But we have to sort of be willing to dive in, like you said earlier, to the deep end of the pool and give it a try.
Mhm. And I'm very well aware that a lot of people, have a lot of struggles they're going through, whether it's depression, clinical depression, or deep grief, and so many losses, and just all different things. And they would probably look at this and go, huh, well,
Easy for you. Yeah,
easy
right.
for you. But
Yeah.
I honestly, with my life coaching, I might not have been taught in a university, but I've been taught in life. And I'm
Yeah.
not blowing smoke up anybody's ass. I have
Yeah.
been in the trenches. I know
Yes, you
what deep
have.
grief is. I know, what addiction was and abuse and trauma. I know all that stuff. So I I understand the depths of all of that. And so I just want to try to lead by example and say you can do it. You can.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, you are without question someone that I feel eternally grateful that you've crossed my path and that we are going to build this into an even deeper friendship. And you were the authentic version of yourself from day one, right? And I love that because you really authenticity is hard to come by these days, and you are truly authentic in what you do and what you've been through, the challenges that you've overcome, and how you're leveraging that to inspire not just your clients but the world in general. Tell us a little bit about, you sent me this really amazing write up. And
Yeah.
I mentioned in your intro that I think, this could be like one of the coolest lifetime movies or a major motion picture, right? And
Mhm.
because all the twists and turns you've gone through, it's kind of hard to fathom just how challenging it's been. But it reads like an adventure. And I know you're trying to get this, into a larger audience. And so tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it all started happening. It's actually 2 years ago next week that I donated that kidney to a young man. And
Yep,
when that story came out in the provincial papers, and then the global news got hold of it, and I was on TV, and then a production company got hold of me and wanted to do my life story. They were doing true life stories. And so I've been working with a screenwriter, Heather Hale, who's amazing, and Randy Lennon from Lennon Productions. And they are in the process of writing like not a movie. There was too much for it to just be a movie. So they're
sure,
doing so many episodes, and I don't quite know how many there are. And they're in the process right now of promoting my story to different, production companies or networks. I'm not quite sure how that all works. There's a lot of
sure.
moving parts to all
Yeah,
of it, but it's been very cathartic for me reliving everything. It's been a lot of work, and it's been very difficult at times, but it's been very good. And we've actually got the pilot written. And then there's that 3-page synopsis that
yep.
is kind of like a big blah of it all, just in 3 pages. And it was a lot. I thought, oh gosh, when I send this to him, I wonder if he's going to think, oh, that's a lot.
Oh, no, I did not think that, and it left me wanting to know more, which I was even more
Right.
excited about the interview, right? And so I think that,
Mhm.
because it's a teaser, right? Right, it's a teaser document for what they're trying to put out there and to get the attention, whether it's, Amazon Prime or Netflix or
Mhm.
somebody that is gonna invest in the episodic approach to telling
Mhm.
your story. I mean, how does that feel that, not only, that you've been able to get to this point in your life, but that you have people that see this and want to tell that story to a much wider audience so that, people can be, can learn from what your experience has taught you, but also be inspired by it.
Well, that's just it right there, Stephen. My screenwriter, when we first met, she said, if you were to watch your story, and we made it, what would you want people to take away from it? And it was really simple for me to answer that.
Yeah.
I just want people to see that no matter what has gone on in your life, how many tragedies or whatever it is, you can pick yourself up and you can live a joyful life. And you don't have to be the victim all of your life. And you can touch other people's hearts through your own story. And I think that a lot of us should be doing that. Like when I donated this kidney to this young man,
Yeah.
and And a lot of people said, "Why are you doing this? This is a stranger. You don't even know him." And I said, my answer was, "Why wouldn't I?"
Sure.
You know? And I wanted people also to see through the story that how you can easily give a kidney and still live a full life. You can save somebody's life and still live a full life. What a gift that is.
Oh,
And there's
yeah.
a lot of awareness that would be brought to the public through my story, too. So I think, yeah, and if you're sitting at home complaining because you broke a nail and you watch my story, you might want to get up and do something of service that day, whether
Yes.
that's get your fingernail fixed, whatever, but do something other than sitting on the couch and complaining and saying,
Yeah.
poor, poor me.
Yeah. Yeah. Take a personal inventory and say, what can you do with your life, right?
What can you
What
do?
should you be doing with your life that you're not doing right now?
And how can you show up?
Yep. I love that. I love that. Was, when you made the commitment to do this, I mean, it's a significant surgery and it's a big commitment. What was that like? What was that experience like? And did you actually get to meet the person that you donated the kidney to? Because I know here in the US, they don't often allow that to happen. So I was
Oh,
curious. Yeah.
yeah, no, we're like family now.
Oh, that's
Yes,
awesome.
he's
Love
like
that.
my child because he's got my kidney in him. So,
Yep.
um, so I read about it was just random. I was on my desktop at home and I never go on my desktop to read anything. And somehow this story showed up. I don't even remember. And I read it and I felt my youngest son, Michael, who had passed away 10 years earlier, literally running around me in circles, going, "Come on, mom, give this guy your kidney."
Wow.
And I even felt him saying to me, "You want to lose weight anyways? Come on, mom, let's do this. Come on, rah, rah, rah." And, um, and I found myself just typing and saying, you know, "Can I help?" And it took a while, and they got back to me. And then I found out he was also from the Okanagan, and I read his story, and he was very, very sick. And he was the same age as my middle son, who is still alive. And so we started the process, and it ended up that he had a rare blood type, and I matched him,
Wow.
which was really phenomenal. And then we had to test to make sure I was healthy enough to do this because I had gotten quite sick for a while and I wasn't sure what my innards, how
Yeah.
healthy they were. And I got, little gold stickers everywhere. I was super healthy of mind, body, spirit. I had to go through a lot of tests with psychologists. And, at one point, I thought they were trying to talk me out of doing it. And I said, "Look, enough of this. I want to
Yeah.
help this kid out. I know what I'm doing. Let's just get this done." And then, yeah, 10 days after my 60th birthday, we had to get Cole healthy enough because he had been quite sick. We did the transplant. We did it in the morning. I think at noon they had put call it a golden kidney, into him. And by the mid afternoon, I walked down to his room and sat with him and held his hand. And oh, it was such a moment for me
I bet.
because I could tell right away that he was going to be okay. But I needed
Mhm.
to see for myself. And yeah, he lives a full life. His wife jokingly gives me shit because she said, "You warned us when he was getting that kidney, he was going to think he was funnier, he was sassier, he was cockier, he was always going to be right." And she goes, "So now when he acts like that, he says it's all my fault."
Oh, that's fantastic. I love that.
Yeah,
Oh, what a
it's good.
great story. What did you take from the experience? What's the most rewarding part for you?
Oh gosh. I think the biggest thing, Stephen, was, and I said this in my interview on Global News, it really helped heal my heart because I couldn't save my own children,
Yeah,
excuse me, but I could save somebody else's.
yeah,
And I could save them from going through what I went through. And that was huge to me.
yeah,
I mean, I feel I've saved his life. He has a full life now and a good life. Um, but the biggest, of course, that's me making it all about me again. But it really helped. It helped my heart to heal a lot too. And I felt like I really made my boys proud.
Well, it should be about you, and you did make them proud. You make all of us proud, and we're grateful to know you. I mean, you are an inspiration to those of us that see and feel what you did, the magnitude of it. So I'm grateful to have the opportunity to extend this story and tell more people about it because I think
Mhm.
they are going to be interested and want to know more about you. And so I love that. I also just the thing I think that when I think about what you've done and what you've gone through, I mean, the word hero, it gets overused, but it's not understated here. You really are the embodiment of that word. And I know without question this young man feels it, but I think, you know, your kids are looking down at you and thinking it and feeling it. And I know the people that your friends that have been there to support you through thick and thin feel it. And I do it and our audience will as well.
Aw, thank you so much. That's
Oh,
that's a really big word. I don't feel that way. I feel it's just my journey,
yeah.
but thank you for that.
Yeah, of course. Well, so I could talk to you all day long, but I want to be respectful of your time. I always like to wrap these sessions up with a few fun ripple connection questions, if you're okay with that.
Sure.
So, if you weren't living in this amazing place in British Columbia, where else might you like to live in the world?
I would probably like to live back on Vancouver Island, where I
Okay.
went for 7 years. A few years after my youngest son's accident, I went to the island because I just wanted to be in the forest, and the forests there are so beautiful. So I would go back there, but the majority of my friends and my people and my community were here in the Okanagan. So I knew I had healed a lot, and it was time for me to come back. And I love being back home here. I lived for 20 years in Peachland. I had a log house in the forest that I raised my children
Uh,
and it was a lot of quadding and dirt biking and snowmobiling and all that stuff. So it was beautiful.
yep.
But if I was not here, I would go back to the forests of Vancouver Island.
I love that. I love that. What is the next 10 years of your life look like? What would you like to see yourself accomplish?
I just hope that I continue to be of service and to touch other people's hearts every day, whatever little thing that is, to show up with kindness every day. I don't have these really big, grandiose plans. Continue to be a life coach, um, just to be my own best friend, take really good care of myself because there's a real big ripple effect to that.
Yep. Yep.
Um, yeah, just show up in life and be surprised every day with what's going to come your way. I mean, I wake up with so much gratitude every morning that I just woke up and just help people out, be there for my friends and my family. And, I can't save the world. That's a pretty big statement. But the reason we connected, that ripple effect that we have by
Yep.
just showing up in little ways, can amount to very big ways. And I do hope that eventually my story does make it uh, to the screen so a lot of people can see it, and I hope it touches their hearts and helps them to maybe lean more towards love in their life and away from fear.
I love that. I love that. So when you think about let's say your clients or maybe just one of your good friends, if you could hear them say one thing about you, what would you love for them to say? Or what would you love to hear them say?
That she showed up with a kind heart and love and laughter and joy. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. If if there was a billboard that everybody could see and you could put any message out there for them to drive by every single day and think about, what would that message be?
Well, I have a T-shirt that says it, and it
Oh, all
just,
right.
and I think you probably know what I'm going to say. It just says, "Be kind."
Yep.
Just be kind.
Yeah.
You
I love
never
that.
know that person who could have snapped at you, or there's some road rage going on. You don't know what they're going through. Maybe that
Yep.
person that's driving erratically or whatever has a child laying on the seat beside them and is choking to death, or they're rushing to the hospital because something has happened. And we don't know what's going on. And a lot of times, when that person reacts with unkindness, you can diffuse it so quickly by just
Yep.
responding kindly.
Yep. Yep. Oh, I love that. I love that. Last
Mhm.
two questions. When you hear of the term or hear the term ripple effect, what does the ripple effect mean to you?
Oh, well, it's the action put in place by yourself that day. And there can be many of them throughout the day. You might be saying hi to somebody walking across the parking lot, and they might be living alone and nobody has even acknowledged them for weeks, and that could make their heart beat a little bit faster and think, somebody noticed me.
Yep.
um, you don't even know what your ripple effect will be, and you don't have to know. You just need to just make all these little efforts all day, and believe me, there will be huge ripple effects from that.
Yep. Yep. Oh, that's a beautiful answer. I love that. Pam, what ripple can I create for you?
You always ask me this, Stephen. um, you know what? The ripple that I feel you've created for me is just okay. The ripple specifically for today, are we talking about?
In general, what ripple could I or someone who might watch this episode or hear it on the podcast platforms, what ripple
Um,
do you need that any of us could help you with?
that for whoever's hearing this to just try to go through one full day of noticing all the little things around them, and to pay attention to all the people around you all day long, even the strangers, and make a kind comment or do something. Be aware, shut the news off, close your phone, just
Yep.
participate in life and the people around you. And you never know, you might connect to this people, the wonderful people like Stephen Harper.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I will take that as a challenge and I will do that ripple for you. And I know many others that will hear this episode will as well. And so I'm so grateful for that. Before we let you go, Pam, what's the best way for someone, for those of you that are in the pond? Pam is in the pond, so definitely connect with her there. But those of you that are hearing this through the podcast platforms or seeing this on the YouTube channel, jump in the pond, right? Don't forget to do that.
Mhm.
But really, at the end of the day, how would you like people to follow you? Do you have a specific social media channel that you really go to, or is there a website that you would like to direct people to?
I'm not a huge, I don't like being on devices a lot and everything. I
Yep.
prefer the good old fashioned one on one call, but I do have a
Yep.
website for my life coaching, and it's called whatyoucanbecome.com.
Love that.
And it talks about me, and all my contact information is on there. I have an email address for my holistic life coach, even my phone number is on there, and people can connect with me through that.
Excellent. Well, whatyoucanbecome.com. Be sure to check that out. And Pam, thank you so much for the time today. You are a true inspiration, and I am truly, truly thankful that our paths have crossed. And I can't wait to see where this friendship ripples onto. So ripple on.
Right. Thanks so much, Steve. Thanks so much for having me, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much.